First of all, thank you so much for joining us. I was so excited when you accepted, and having our quick pre-introductory call last week, just got me even more excited for all the things we're going to discuss today. So for those of you that don't know, Dr. Rabinder Buttar is, a global clinical researcher with a lot of industry experience within the kind of pharmaceutical industry, and a distinguished entrepreneur with endless awards to her name that I could list, but we'd be here for too long. And so she is the founder and president of Clintec International, and we've got a whole host of things to discuss this evening. But on that, Rabinder, is there any other small brief introduction you'd like to give to yourself, or maybe for those of you that aren't quite as familiar with Clintec, on kind of what you do?
I think you've already spoken very nicely, Emma, and
it's very easy.
Basically, I'm really delighted to be here, and I've learned about this amazing organisation. Your Startup Grind organisation sounds really amazing, and I hope I can share some of my deep insights with the entrepreneurs and business people on this call here. I've already heard some of the chat earlier on, and it's very, very interesting to see what people are doing. And basically, I've spent many decades, sound old, don't I? 35 years from academia right up to now, working within the big global organization, IQVIA, where I'm still the president and CEO of Clintec, and a company that they acquired 2 years ago. I actually spent 25 years nearly building that company. Wow. So I'll be able to share some of my journey with you. I also wanted to say, Emma, that the last year has been quite challenging, as you know, all over the world. And being an immunologist from Strathclyde University and working on vaccine technology so many years ago, it really made me think of the valuable work that academic people do and researchers do. So I've started some activities at Strathclyde as well as a mentor and advisor.
That's very exciting. No, some of the questions that we'll touch upon later on, just about how, the last year, we know nobody wants to continue to dwell too much on what we've all been through, but it's important to highlight, the pharmaceutical industry has been put in a spotlight, or people have heard about pharmaceutical companies more than they've ever heard of before. So really excited to hear about that later on, and some of the work that you're now doing as a result of it all. But we'll get started with, you did start in research and, immunology, but what was it that made you first decide that you wanted to start your own company?
Okay, so I'd been working for a little while within the pharmaceutical industry, an American company in London, a British company in London, and then in Munich with a Japanese company. So I got exposure to quite an international environment. And the Japanese company had a mission to start early stage clinical development, bring a drug to the market. And we did that. It became a global blockbuster drug. And I thought, well, what next? I've had this whirlwind career where I've learned so much about clinical development in a short space of time. My husband moved to the north of Germany, and there as a dentist, he was working. So I decided it was time to have my family. So my 2 little sons were born, Jaspal and Devinder. And I said to my company, well, I need to work from home. They said, that's ridiculous, Rabinder. In management, you need to be in the office.
Do you imagine somebody said that now?
Yeah, I know. And so there was no flexibility. So I just said, well, I need to leave then. And I started advising pharmaceutical companies on different clinical trial aspects. And that was the start of it all.
Very good. So it wasn't really something that you'd always thought about. It just kind of right time, identified, this is something that I can do, and just going to go for it.
Yes. And I didn't think it would be, I was just working away, and so many companies wanted to work with me, but I'm only like one person. So, but always had an open mind, can-do attitude, and employed like-minded people, even in different countries, to work with me on the pharmaceutical client solutions, and the clients really loved it. You know, we're working one day in France and they said, can you help us in Turkey? And we're like, Turkey? Oh, we really want to work with you. Can you have a solution for Turkey? And we did. So that's how it grew, and we were really open-minded.
Well, I guess I'll do one step back before we kind of move to, their global expansion. So you said you worked quite quickly in research and things, but for some people, particularly in science and academia, to then go up maybe for a PhD, to then transition to running a company or to going into a big business, that can be quite daunting. But then also for just a career change, how did you find that transition, from academia to running a company? Or is there advice that you would give to somebody maybe trying to make that next step?
I think there is definitely a transition needed to be made there. But I think the fact that I had a bit of a business mindset, even while I was at Strathclyde, I didn't have original funding for my project, so I had to go out and look for funding. And when you have challenges and you have to try and cope and find entrepreneurial ways to do things, those kind of skills then, you can use later on to build a business. So I had quite a challenge at the beginning at university to get funding, etc. Once all that was there in place, and then I could, move on. But it's very theoretical, and I had this urgent need to do something that was socially worthwhile, which was like develop novel medicines and bring them to the global marketplace. And that was, how do you do that when you're in a lab? It seems really far off. So I thought this big leap into the pharma industry, I'm more closer to that.
Very good. No, was there any unexpected challenges, or had you kind of maybe just come across them as, so funding, or how did you find maybe just hiring or just deciding, okay, now I'm going to start Clintec? Is it easier than you thought, more difficult?
It's absolutely not easy. So anyone that thinks it's easy, it's not. And I think it's all about having a positive mindset, being prepared that there will be challenges every day, and looking beyond finding a solution and maybe finding a different route to do something, a longer route, but knowing that the challenges today and it can be overcome and we'll get to the next stage. But having that mindset helped to overcome challenges on the way. When you're small, you're only, like I said, one person, and you've got your product you want to bring, or service, you want to bring it to the global marketplace. People you have to sell yourself, trust in you, believe in you, and believe that you're giving the right solutions or the right advice. So I think for new startups, having the key founders and key people in management have to be really, really visible, because they're the ones that will build the trust with the customers and future big clients. Building the trusting relationships really helps.
Yeah, I guess especially in that kind of industry, it's all based on trust and in the people doing the work. Yeah.
Also, bringing a quality product. I just wanted my team and us to be all excellent in everything we did. Absolutely excellent in everything. And I was actually inspired by Steve Jobs, and I looked at how the iPad at the time was being made and launched and everything, and he wanted it beautiful inside as well as outside. He wanted a certain level of excellence, and that's what I instilled right throughout the organization, through all the management, went to the different countries within the people. If you have something of really high quality and you've already built this trusting relationship with your customers, and that really takes people a long way. So Steve Jobs was a good mentor there in a way. And then you don't have money, when you're a startup, to do extensive marketing. You're not the same as Coca-Cola, although here, by using the virtual networks and social media, we have still got a lot of power that companies didn't have those days for marketing. And I did like Richard Branson and how he used himself and particular techniques for marketing. And I thought, well, he's doing that, and that's what I've been doing, so it must be okay. Just quoting some other entrepreneurs. So get advice from good entrepreneurs that you like and admire.
Very good. And you touched on earlier that you quite quickly were doing work in different countries. So was having a global company always something that you envisaged, and was that the kind of driver behind international expansion, or did it just the nature of the industry?
So my goal, and till today, our goal, the team of about 700 people there who are now in this 70,000 person organization, is to deliver excellence in clinical research. And that was the goal. It wasn't about how big the company will be, how much profits we will make. It was about doing this excellent work. And if you do excellent work, and this is instilled within people and they deliver, then the organization will naturally grow. So I was focused on the clinical products and the services and the relationships. They were more important than anything else. When the company was just 16 people, I remember, I was thinking, oh, that's quite a big company. That's quite a big company. Didn't think.
So how many now? 700?
There was 700 people within Clintec, and now it's within the larger corporate organization, some of it quite well integrated.
Wow.
And my team have got my management suite and built a really good C-suite, and they've taken on, very big roles within the larger organization, like general manager for Europe, etc.
Very exciting, and must be, very proud of your team for all the work that everything you've gone through as well.
Yeah, so the team have been great. People, to build a great team around you, I've been really, really blessed in picking the right people and looking after them, looking after people. I think everything is about really having the best people. I'm not saying best in terms of having a whole list of credentials from the CV and everything else. There's so many aspects of what a good Clintec employee is like, and the core culture and values that they embody and practice every day.
Good. And in terms, so now you've talked about now, after an acquisition, lots of your team are in different positions. So you've been in over 50 countries and worked with some of the the top life science companies in the world. So have you had a moment when you felt, oh yeah, I've made it, or Clintec's, I've made it, or are you still kind of always looking for the next thing?
I always think life's a journey, and it's I've had a fast and exciting journey over the last 35 years of professional life, 25 years nearly now in Clintec, and I feel that my Clintec team have reached a certain stage. There's always stages that you reach, but then there's always the next stages, like they're now becoming the leaders within the bigger organization. So I feel I've taken them along an amazing journey. And for my own personal journey, I don't think I can ever stop being an entrepreneur.
No.
I want to share knowledge, though. I'm going to spend a lot of my time sharing my knowledge and experience and supporting young entrepreneurs along the way.
Absolutely. And this is, thank you very much for joining us. And, there's lots of people in the room that, take so much value from everything you've got to share.
Thank you.
So then with that, I guess, have you had a moment or what has been your most valuable failure? And failure can seem like a strong word, but, everybody goes through them, but, can dress it up as a learning curve, or, something that has really been difficult as your time as a CEO of Clintec.
So I would say that organizations aren't perfect, and especially if you're your first time the managing director or first time the CEO of your own company, and you're developing it as you're going along, inevitably there will be ways that things can be done better or smarter or more efficient. Or one thing is that, not to invest in infrastructure, expensive offices. And while we did that really well all across the globe, we've had really flexible offices. We did build an office in Munich a few years ago, not build, but leased, a long lease, flashy office in Munich. And because the people there, the employees wanted it, really wanted it, and put full-time employees in there. And we had plenty of business, but the business dried up. It wasn't exactly there. It was all over in other countries.
Yeah.
So it became a problem. So in the end, I needed to eventually close that office, move positions to Glasgow, move positions to India, and become more financially efficient. So that was a learning curve, not to fix yourself, because the business, can go up and down. And in Germany, in that location, I just couldn't get it to grow as much as we like. We had initial, but not repeat. So that was one learning.
Well, yeah, I think everybody now, the flashy office, we can realise now we can just do it from our homes as well. So,
so I really think to avoid fixed infrastructure, overheads that you can't easily remove if the business environment changes, just to be really, really careful about that, even for permanent employees, to think twice about all the headcount.
And in terms of, you say that maybe perhaps, that time contracts dried up in Germany, but generally speaking, in the pharmaceutical industry, which is incredibly competitive, you've had, secured, so many research contracts very quickly. What was that secret to success? Is it, how are you getting those so early on compared to some of the bigger players,
So it's very hard for procurement in big pharma to choose a small company, we're quite big now, like Clintec.
Quite big.
How can they even justify it when they're the global CROs, global players are there? So the secret is to get small piece of business, and to deliver excellence and have your metrics measured the same as the global players. That's what we did. And we were so good with our 100% almost metrics, and they gave us a chance for all of Europe. And then they gave us a chance for South Africa, Middle East, and then they gave us a chance for Asia, and then the US. And so they gave us the global contract, where every time delivery at the same level as or better than their global players. So being the preferred partner of one of the largest global pharmaceutical companies is a big achievement, and we won their leading by example awards, etc.
Yeah. I know that's really incredible. Like some of the awards that you've won, and not just personally, but as for Clintec, have been remarkable. And you listed off continents and countries there. Do you have somewhere that's still on your wish list that you'd like to go, or is it more a case of what country most excites you about the clinical research space, and within the next 5 years, where do you see has got most new potential?
In terms of geography, I can proudly say we've done it.
There we go.
We've really done it. We've done it. Just last Christmas, just before Christmas, just during this lockdown, we weren't yet in any big way in Latin America. We won the Latin American business. We were a team in Argentina and stuff, and we've just won China not that long ago.
Wow.
So our team are starting in China. We've already got activity in Japan. So I feel extremely satisfied to have conquered the globe.
There you go.
Well, my team did it, right? And the clients believed in us.
Well, and how, I know that you told Johnny and I recently, how do you check up on all these offices now that what does a typical day look like?
Well, I've always been one of these very visible people, always on camera, you know, and when talking to my people on MS team meetings we use, and talking to management all across the globe is really important. Empowering them to do great stuff, and with the right culture, value, excellence, everything that we want. And they will take care of their teams in South Korea or wherever. And, you know, I can't do everything. They are brilliant people in their countries. They also know their local culture and local ways, and giving them that flexibility to do things their way in South Korea. I dialed into South Korea and everyone stood up and sort of bowed and then sat down.
That's amazing. I know that you forget that, you know, because if you were maybe going there in person, which we will eventually, but you know, you kind of get that interaction. But to be still be able to having those like cultural experiences on Zoom or on Teams, that's really cool. So, but you did do on a round the world trip sitting at your desk.
I did do the round the world trip. I started off in Australia really early in the morning. Did Australia, Asia Pac, India, then South Africa, then Europe, UK, and then finished in America at night. I did it in one day. It was
there
great being around the world.
Not many people can say they can do that, so it's really cool. And I guess your very early part of your career was spent in laboratories, and now it's, you know, your day-to-day is very different. But do you miss your lab coat? Do you think you'd go back into the laboratory? Or
well, with this COVID crisis, and particularly last year, really shook a lot of people. And I saw the immense efforts the research scientists are making, you know, trying to make the vaccine as fast as possible, or numerous vaccines now fast as possible. And I really felt like, you know, being one of them, being a scientist, being in the lab, supporting with fast tracking vaccines. I felt at that moment, a lab coat would have been a good thing.
Oh, I know. Well, I don't miss. Well, no, I don't miss my lab coat. Actually, I like everyone else is doing such a great job, so I'll leave them to it. And what then? I guess what with everything, you know, the industry is moving and evolving at a very rapid pace, and I guess now people have maybe noticed that more because perhaps people that work in science, they know the pace that everything's going. Are you excited about the increasing move to digital healthcare, and if so, why?
Yeah, there's two aspects about this. One, I am generally really excited about it. We've moved really fast with technology, and we'd already implemented technology over the years, but because the regulators, the National Health Service and other health organisations have also adopted technology and embrace it, I think it's a really, really good move. That's one aspect, and I am excited about the positives there, the use of technology. However, I always feel that in business or in anything we do, human relationships are number one, absolutely number one. And having the face-to-face contact, we still need to do that. And I feel that we need to sort of have a balance between the two. Within the clinical research industry, we were visiting hospitals and building close relationships with the hospital staff who were undertaking trials. So we need to keep those relationships, and we need to visit. But I think the good thing is that even my father, who might be actually on this call, is embracing technology at his age of 83. And I think we should use more technology.
Yes, no, it's double-edged sword sometimes, you know, what to one extent we've lost human kind of interactions, but then on the other, you know, we can actually communicate, you know, more than ever.
I think a balance between the two would be good.
And in terms of in clinical research, is there now a bigger drive for like health, like technology? Like, do you notice that in clinical trials and contracts, or something that you can see that you think will be quite big moving forward?
One thing about the pharmaceutical industry and even about governments and is that there's always cost pressures. You know, it's very expensive to develop medicines and do all the research, bring a drug on the market, etc. And it takes a long time as well. And we need to be able to do that as cost effectively as possible and as fast as possible. So a big driver is technology there, and using technology, we can do clinical research quicker and make it more cost effective. So because of that, it's really viewed positively, bringing such technologies into our industry.
Very good. I guess now I'm going to move a little bit towards your kind of industry, the insights and values, and perhaps a little bit about what you want to do next. So you're an inspiring role model, not only for life sciences, but as a strong advocate for diversity in business. And from the beginning, you've promoted the importance of having kind of more of a level playing field, and how important it is to have certified women business enterprises. And how do you talked about your hiring process. How do you then ensure that these values are kind of instilled in people in all the places you work? Because you can't be in the hiring room every single time for 700 people.
You definitely can't be. And we have to empower our staff. We have to give them trust that they will do a responsible job. But we have to educate and train our management and ensure that they have not just the technical skills or commercial skills to do the job, but they actually know how to certain behaviours, certain ways to deal with people, etc., to motivate, to educate, to train their staff. And we need to give them the tools for that as well. So we've always invested in our staff with education, with training. So invest in the top management, and they will deliver for you in their countries.
And I guess following from that, some a bit more difficult topics. I studied life sciences and things, and went at maybe a university level for subjects maybe like biology and chemistry. It does feel quite diverse, or there's quite a lot of female representation compared to industries, perhaps engineering. But there is obviously then quite a disparity as you move into kind of more senior roles in life science industries. So although you do an incredible job, from your experience, how diverse do you think the life science industry really is, both in Scotland and globally? And, are there some, tough lessons we really maybe need to hear?
Yeah. I would say that not just in the life science industry, but in industry in general, it is still quite a big issue that women are not as well represented in the most senior management positions or board level positions. And companies are now, it seems to be a big topic now, the whole diversity topic. But we've always embraced diversity in Clintec, with 70% of the management being women.
Well, I didn't know that. I was looking for the stats, but I couldn't find it. That's very impressive.
It is, and also on the board level, we've had leaders as well. So I'm a real ambassador for women in leadership. I feel that they can do as well as their male counterparts. And I think I think they just need to be a lot more confident. And I think the companies themselves have to be a lot more open. I mean, I remember having my interview in Germany. I basically got the job, but then I said, yes, my husband's a dentist. He'll be coming here to Germany as well. Where is it on your CV? Where does it say you're married? That was, I mean,
it's not relevant.
So I think I think the world's a little bit more open now, but still there's a lot of work to do there in that aspect.
Well, no, I think even just hearing you talk, I feel more confident already. So, everybody watch out.
Think the sun's
Uh,
coming again.
there we go. And then I guess you touched on it at the beginning that, this year you kind of had a change of focus and trying to get more into, what's kind of re-engage with everything that was happening with COVID. Yeah, the pandemic did bring a spotlight to the pharmaceutical industry, but from what's kind of changed in the short term that you think will have a lasting impact, quite significantly in the way that everything runs?
So you mean because of COVID, what things
Yeah.
will change in the pharmaceutical industry?
Yeah, so what kind of had to change very quickly, perhaps for Clintec, that will now have a lasting impact, or is that everything? Everything out the
Well,
window.
everyone having to work from home and find
Mhm.
solutions, because my team, my clinical research scientists were visiting constantly on the road, visiting hospitals 3 days a week. So,
Oh,
and interacting with the hospital staff there to do their to run the clinical studies, and having to do all that from a remote base, and then looking at patient records within the hospitals to verify the clinical trial aspects of the records, having to deal with patient confidentiality, and see the records from a remote base. We had to, us and technology companies had to find the solutions, find good regulatory accepted ways of doing all these things, working from home and actually making sure that patients can still be going into clinical trials, and we can still be developing new drugs.
So did a lot of, this is something I want to know personally, did a lot of, people in laboratories and doing more kind of lab research, did they have to stop going into their offices too for certain periods, or did it depend where they were in the world?
I think, well, we have massive laboratories in Livingston.
Close.
I think, well, over 1,000 people or so working in Livingston. And samples are coming from all over the world, clinical trial samples from different clients.
Yeah.
So that work didn't stop. The laboratories still had to analyze the samples, and these were critical staff. But I think all of our offices had to be adjusted, especially the labs.
Yeah. Well, I can't imagine it going back to normal. It's almost daunting. So then you said, you've got offices all over the world. Livingston's not too far from Glasgow, but your, Clintec global headquarters is in Glasgow. Why did you choose that? Was it something about the people and the resources? There are so many cities. So why Glasgow?
When we're running a business or we're building businesses, there's so many new things we can do. But if we've got some good knowledge, good experience, or a good foundation, we can grow from, then we should. So I found that the Scottish people were amazing. Well, it's my culture, right? I can have half Norwegian in a way, having been brought up here, so I could relate to them. So that was a great thing. There was no cultural barriers whatsoever. It was fantastic when they said, they always had a can-do attitude. It was no bother. Somebody said to me, I said, great, no bother. In Germany, it would be like, well, we have to schedule that in. It'll be, it's more regimented. I'd lived 16 years in Germany. So I was glad to scale up and grow the business from Scotland, and also access to the amazing talent from the universities here. I just felt there's such a great energy here, and a great, let's get things done. And the cost of doing business was, I would say, reasonable in Scotland, versus I had an office for a short time in Windsor as well.
Okay.
And we proved, and it was an experiment in a way, a global business starting from Scotland, and it worked actually. People actually love Scotland everywhere. And
I'm not surprised.
yes, and we're happy to come and visit us.
Mhm. Very good. And do you think, you know, there's lots of universities, and I know there's quite a push for there to be like a what they call the triple helix effect of having, you know, research facilities, you know, businesses and universities all kind of working together. Do you think that, you know, really does have a lot of traction? I mean, I've heard, you know, Ivan Mackay, you know, the life science industries in Scotland is, you know, always very promising and has huge revenue. And, you know, I know there's all sorts of fantastic targets for, you know, for 2025. And
Yeah.
do you think that's kind of, that's the kind of at the heart of it?
Yes, I think there's really good efforts already being made here, and things are definitely happening,
Yeah.
and we are on target, according to the Trade Minister, with our growth plans for the life sciences industry. But you know, businesses need to be confident to set up in Scotland. That's one thing. Venture capitalists, early stage, especially venture capitalists, there needs to be more of them, and they need to invest in the businesses in Scotland. And I guess the government could do more, and we could also market ourselves more to the world.
To the world.
I've been to a lot of meetings where we're in Scotland. We are all proud of Scotland, and we talk about Glasgow, Edinburgh, Aberdeen, and all that. We should really open our minds and have connections much more internationally and leverage on them.
I know,
and partner with people.
Yeah, you hit on so many good points, and we had a fantastic event a couple of weeks ago with Dr Poonam about, you know, these things that people need to, you know, invest more in Scotland, and, you know, and in particular businesses as well. So it's great to hear that the same things are getting echoed, and hopefully then that'll actually, you know, come together, and we'll kind of continue to make more traction in that. And
there's also one other aspect is competition. You don't want to be right amongst the whole competition. And it's hard to keep your talent. They'll go to the competition, or I think being quite a little unique company and not having other competition around you is quite a good place quite a safe place to grow from.
I know, but you have to be on the ball to find what that, you know, gap in the market is. And you know, telling us your story of how you did it is hopefully that'll give people the courage to do it themselves. So
I didn't go to America. I mean, I've built Clintec in so many different countries, but there's so many CROs in America. I actually went to the emerging markets where clinical research wasn't yet there, and other CROs weren't there. So go where other people aren't going. Don't follow everyone else, and pave your own pioneering way.
Absolutely.
What I would say.
And do you think, you know, obviously your experiences within science, but do you think with that right attitude, you'd encourage other kind of industries and entrepreneurial ventures to consider basing themselves in Scotland as well?
It's good from a cost-effective point of view, so yes, and it's good from having the right people. There's an immense amount of talent. In fact, talent can be attracted back into Scotland. I've had a Scottish manager who went away to work in Sweden and then realised we're in Glasgow, and he's back. So,
you're close.
So we can bring the Scots back here as well. No, but international talent as well is here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's a good place from that point. I'd encourage it.
And you discussed at the start with some of your work with Strathclyde. I know you're part of a group of enterprise fellows that, you know, really working to this kind of entrepreneurship hub. What are kind of key things that you want to achieve with that, or, you know, what excites you about perhaps working more again with, you know, students at Strathclyde, or just other people that want to start their own business?
Yeah, so I'm very excited about the Technology Innovation Centre at Strathclyde University. While nothing's stopping them, they're very entrepreneurial. They've got a 5-year-long entrepreneurial strategy to instill this entrepreneurship into all their staff and students regarding and spin out more entrepreneurial companies. And I feel I've learned a lot, and I'm still learning every day. You know, it's good to learn from diverse people every day and from diverse industries as well, not just life science. So I'm learning. So I like working with people who I can learn from and who I can share my experiences with. And I think young entrepreneurial people can do many things, and they should surround themselves with, they should follow their passion and their intuition, and they should maybe get some points of view from some people that have done it.
Absolutely. Okay, so I guess you said you're interested in other industries. So as almost the last question before Q&A, if you could just start all over again and start a brand new company in whatever it was, what would it be? What industry or what part of the world, who knows?
Well, skincare.
Yeah.
I used to be an Avon rep when I was about 16, and I became a member of the President's Club and all that. I was really loving everything about skincare at the time. And I'm thinking of my next journey. I'll be launching developing my own skincare products, growing the company and launching it globally, and making it vegan, organic and everything else. But there'll be something different. There has to be something different about it.
So it sounds like you're about to start a new company. So everybody, you heard it here
just
first.
In my head. It's only in my head at the moment. Anyone out here that's got ideas, let me know. It will be a future venture at some point.
Well, I'm very excited to see what you do next, and all the work that you'll be doing with Strathclyde, and or just in general for everybody that wants to learn more from yourself. And I've definitely learned a lot. And Johnny said, can we invest in your next skincare product?
It may be the crowdfunding, may be the company for all. I mean, what I'm dying and what I really want to create is something that's not created before in terms of what kind of company it will be, and it'll be different from anything, because we can do almost anything we want. Almost. So almost. It'll be something different. We went to the emerging markets when Clintec was small. I had my people remotely based in Poland, and people were saying, Rabinder, why aren't your people in an office? I said, people can work perfectly well from Krakow. This Krakow. And so we were doing remote based a very long time ago. The manager, she's the manager of Poland now. Malgorzata reminded me that just recently about that. And so I think creating the future, I want to be part of that.
Yeah. Well, so do I. So no, that sounds amazing. And God, I could sit and ask you questions all evening, but our wonderful audience have got many questions for you. And if we've still got 15 minutes, if you'd be able to answer some of your questions. And I believe Alan's going to ask people to come up and ask their questions. But yeah, again, for me, thank you very much. And for me to do my first interview with Startup Grind, to have someone like yourself, you've just made it so easy. So thank you very much.
Emma, you've been a pleasure to speak to.
Well, perhaps I'll meet you in real life someday, and as with everyone else on the call as well. So thank you for sharing everything that you've done so far, and possibly what's come next. So Alan, there you go. I've done all my talking.
Well done. Well done, Emma. A fantastic talk, Dr. Rabinder. A great journey to listen to, and I'm sure it's going to inspire a lot of women. For example, my girlfriend is trying to start her own business as well, and I'm sure she needs to listen to strong women like yourself. We've got a bunch of questions that people asked behind the scenes. They've been upvoted here from the most popular the least popular, and the first one of them would be Rebecca. And Rebecca, would you unmute yourself and ask the question yourself?
Hi, Rabinder.
Hi.
What an inspirational story, super cool and really exciting. I just wanted to know a little bit about the very first stages that you undertook, and it was great to hear that you started small and you made sure that you really delivered, and you delivered excellence. But I was just wondering what balance you had right at the beginning between contracts and investment. Where were your revenue streams coming from? What percentage were coming from contracts and what percentage was coming from investment?
Okay, so right at the very beginning, I didn't even have a printer to print off my first invoice. I had to go to my husband's dental practice and get my invoice printed off. So I had my a very limited investment actually into the company, and to really start it off, and really doing it every basic kind of job that you can do till you can financially kind of afford it. What I did invest in was my family situation, making sure I had you know, a cleaner for my house, and help in the house. And my children were, my babies, a 2-year-old and a 0-year-old, were kind of with an au pair, etc., support from my family. So I'd really invested in that aspect. But the business, from creating the invoice to doing every little aspect, you really kind of start yourself. Only when you feel you have enough, you feel you have your first more secure contract, then you can think, well, I've got a revenue stream now, I can think of my next investment. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really good.
Be careful, being really careful at the beginning.
Thank you.
I'm being careful with money.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Rebecca. And Bruce, are you there? Would you be able to unmute yourself and ask your question?
I am indeed. Rabinder, thank you very much for that. It was very interesting. So full disclosure for everyone on the call, I'm a lawyer, and from my perspective, I think work-life balances have arguably got better over the last 12 months and are potentially better than they've ever been due to forced changes in work practice. Do you think that sort of change is here to stay?
Yeah, I think that it has got better. Obviously, you know, we're at home with our families, but I think we will have a bit more of a shift to, again, having to travel, and that straight away moves the work-life balance, and attending meetings in person, because the corporate organizations kind of expect certain meetings, or our clients or customers. There is a definite mind shift to doing these kind of virtual calls. So I think it will always be better than it was previously, but I don't think we'll ever be totally just staying at home.
Yeah, I agree with that. Thank you very much. And yeah, I think there'll be a mix, I think, from my perspective, that allows events like this to happen across Scotland as opposed to just in Edinburgh and Glasgow. And yeah, so thank you very much for your response. I think I agree with you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Bruce. And we're heading to Dr. Poonam. She's got an interesting question. You're going to have to unmute yourself.
Okay. Hi, Rabinder. Good to hear. Good to hear from you, and good to see you across the screen. So a wonderful journey of world domination, you've said, and obviously your work and travel, as you said, in 50 countries have taken you across in many boardroom, and now in a management situation of a 70,000 people company. Thinking back through your various career roles and journey, do you think you have had thought about that famous imposter syndrome. Have you ever felt it? Do you still feel it? Or is that not part of DNA that you think, is it more rated than it is predominantly?
Oh, tell me exactly what you mean there,
All right, imposter syndrome, as it is called in the boardroom, they say women doubt their self ability when they are thinking that I will be found out soon, that I am not something and people are making out to be. Obviously, you have been there everywhere and you've won all these awards, but do you doubt your own capability? And they say it's prominent everywhere, but women tend to suffer more from it.
Yeah. Well, I can actually speak about that because I've presented to women in various conferences where they quite openly talk and ask me questions and admit as well that it's they're not comfortable within themselves. Are they confident enough to perform at that level? I think it's something, you know, else being on the board. And their male counterparts might think that. And I think for me, being in this large corporate organization, I've been in a very male-dominated top management environment as well. And I think I might have surprised them a little bit.
Absolutely. I think
people need to be more confident.
Great.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Dr. Poonam. I've got a question here that has been requested to ask by me anonymously. And the question is, do you think that lowering Scottish corporation tax will be an effective instrument to stimulate capital venture investment in Scottish life science businesses?
Thank you for the question, Ed, by the way. I noticed that I did see at the very bottom. Great
Obviously, lowering corporation tax in Scotland will be a really positive thing. But we're a pretty good country anyway for corporation tax. But yeah, if you can lower it, and that will definitely help more businesses. And I think we need to do things like that, very proactive things like lowering the corporation tax, encouraging more businesses and more profits to be generated as a result, which can be invested back in the economy. It will really help. And will venture capitalists invest because of that? I think their number one goal is to invest in what they would call a sound company with a sound proposition, where they feel they can get their XYZ return 3 times or 20 times, whatever, in an X time frame. So venture capitalists have their agendas, and I'm not sure the corporation tax is going to make that their minds change there.
All right. As I'm waiting for a response from one of the people that asked the question here, I'm going to go on to another anonymous one. Who are the most interesting people you've come across during your years in business, and what did you learn from them?
That's a really interesting question that people haven't really asked me before. So well done to yourselves for asking that. You know, I have been learning every single day, and being in the Middle East and learning the culture there, and being a successful woman in the Middle East and having to embrace the culture there has been quite interesting and actually very nice, and quite surprising, because you hear of a lot of restrictions for women, and but we have an office in Dubai, and learning from that, learning how to deal with the Middle Eastern people, I love the South Korean people. I mentioned about them before. Australia was different. I mean, I can just go on and on. There's beauty and interesting things within almost every culture. And I could probably write a book on that, because I've kind of experienced it firsthand. Yes, so, and Scottish people are so open and just direct. You can directly say something and nobody would be offended, because we are like that. So I think there's beauty in all that.
Please write this
Interesting
book.
people I've met.
Yeah, write the book. That's your next.
I've met interesting people. Ellie Bird, she was the first woman in transport, Scottish Transport Police, in the highest level of management. She's doing charity work in Africa now. Amazing charity, but I think she's married an African village person from a tribe or whatever, and she's living there now. There's a lot of interesting people, and I'm so pleased to have met so many people, and wonderful people as well.
Amazing. Please do write the book. I'm also curious about your experience with Polish people. I'm from Poland, so it was
I love the Polish
great to hear you.
I love the Polish food, the Polish culture. I was sitting in the office every week for a while I was building the Krakow office, so it's nice.
All right, and for another question, I almost missed Johnny. So Johnny, if you want to ask probably one of the last questions, if not the last one.
Steal myself for the very end, of course. Please do write the book, to echo that one more time. Yes, Dr. Renner, thanks so much for joining us. It's been wonderful. My own question is almost the inverse of the last one, in the sense of from those you've learned from to those that learn from you. So now that you're doing more advisoring, more mentoring, and that side of things, what are some of the kind of insights, common things you're seeing and find yourself often sharing with budding entrepreneurs, with people who are up and coming, and yeah, what would you normally teach them, recommend, and what are some of the insights from that end?
Mm-hmm. I think entrepreneurs have a lot of energy. They have a passion for their product, and but they need to know that having the acceptance of that product, is it really going to be viable in the marketplace? Who are the competitors? And how much will it cost in terms of time and investment and resources to get it where they need to go? Also, entrepreneurs, like I just said, you could start a book, you could start another company, but these are not short-term things. These are long-term things. They need to think to themselves, I'm not just here today, next year, in a year's time, 5 years. How long am I going to be here? I was talking to a company who are doing really well, and they've been around about more than 10 years now, but they haven't got their exit plan, and they still need a lot of mentoring. And I think they're going to be stuck in this particular stage for a long time, and they're not really willing to change. So I think people need to learn from some mentors and think of the longer term and their exit plan, which might be a shocking thing to do for someone that's just starting off. Yeah. I never want to sell, I never want to exit.
It's my baby, no one else's, mine. Thank you so very much. And on that note, as we approach 8 o'clock, I would like to thank everyone here who's been so active, who's participated, who's been here. Everyone who couldn't make it, they're lost, but no worries, because it was recorded. We'll have sound bites and the whole event available in the next coming days. Last thing from me, before, as I say, we'll head off. If you haven't grabbed dinner, late dinner, we'll go grab it. I want to shout out our next event at Startup Ground Scotland. We heard from Dec earlier today about a little bit about it. Effectively, we're going to be hosting Sophie Amono, advisor, social entrepreneur, supporting homeless women in Edinburgh. We're hosting Danae Shell, co-founder and CEO of Vala, tech company making legal decision fairer and faster for everyone, and also Leah Hutchin, the founder and CEO of Appointed. So really exciting panel taking place towards the end of the month. There is a link. Do get yourself, if you're interested, do get involved while the early bird tickets are still there. And with that said, once again, a huge thank you, Dr. Rinna, a huge thank you, Alan for making everything out, and of course to Emma. This is first hosted live event. You've absolutely smashed it, and thank you. Everyone else, thank you so much for being here with us tonight, and do have a wonderful evening.